The first time I picked the broken laptop, I thought I was being humble. That was the kind of girl I used to be. The one who took the cracked chair, the dry marker, the group role nobody wanted, the laptop with the missing key, and the hinge that screamed whenever it opened, because I believed small sacrifices accumulated somewhere invisible and eventually became proof that I deserved good things. They did not. In my first life, I walked into room 2045 minutes before advanced biology, saw everyone racing for the good loaner laptops before our grade conference lesson, and chose number 17 from the bottom shelf because its sticker said, "Trackpad faulty. Use mouse." Sloan Hart smiled at me from the front row like she had been waiting for exactly that act of useful self-erasure. I sat down, opened the laptop, and found a school gradebook tab already open on the screen. Not the student portal. The staff gradebook. My name was highlighted in a row, my lab practical score changed from 94 to 64, and beside it, under audit notes, was an admin username I did not recognize. I panicked. I thought seeing it was wrong. I thought the respectful thing was to close the tab before anyone accused me of snooping. So I did. I closed the only visible evidence with my own hand, logged into my student account, and 5 minutes later, when Ms. K projected the live class grades and my score showed as a 64, I stood up shaking and said there had been a mistake. That was when Sloan gasped, "Wait, weren't you just on the teacher gradebook?" The laptop history showed the staff gradebook had been accessed from my machine. The closed tab made it look like I had hidden it. The audit log, mysteriously exported 5 minutes later, showed failed attempts under my student ID. By lunch, I was not the girl whose grade had been hacked. I was the scholarship girl who tried to hack a grade and got caught. My university recommendation collapsed. My mother cried in the car outside school because she wanted to believe me, but the screen had already spoken. Years later, after I lost another lab assistant job because a background check dug up the disciplinary note, I slipped on wet stairs outside a tutoring center and died hearing an email notification ping from inside my bag, still afraid every screen in the world was waiting to accuse me. Then I opened my eyes to the smell of warm plastic, whiteboard cleaner, and rain-soaked blazers, standing in room 204 again, watching the good laptops disappear, while number 17 waited on the bottom shelf with its cracked hinge and the gradebook tab still open. This time, I did not close it. My finger hovered above the trackpad out of habit, because terror has muscle memory, but I pulled my hand back like the glass was hot. The laptop screen glowed too brightly in the dim classroom, blue-white against the scratched desk. Staff Grade Center.
Course, Advanced Biology.
Teacher, Cade, Marianne. The row highlighted in yellow. Reyes, Lucia. That was me. Lab Practical 3. Original score 94. Current score 64. Modified. Today, 7:52 a.m. Modified by Temp. Admin 7. IP. Lab Cart 17. My breath thinned. In the first life, I had seen only the changed score, and the panic had swallowed the rest. Now I read everything because dead girls are excellent students of details. Lab Cart 17 was this laptop. The machine I had just chosen had been used before class to change my grade. No, not only mine. I scrolled with 2 fingers, careful not to click anything, and saw other highlighted rows. Omar Singh, attendance changed from present to absent on the quiz day. Mina Park, project comment altered to late submission. Sloan Hart, Lab Practical 3 changed from 81 to 96. There it was. Not subtle. Not even elegant. Sloan had not only pushed me down, she had lifted herself into the top rank. A second tab sat open beside the gradebook. How to clear browser session on school Chromebook. I almost laughed. It came out silent and ugly. She had planned for me to close the tab, log in, and make myself the last visible student associated with the machine. My kindness had been the last step in her security protocol. Around me, the class settled into ordinary noise. Chairs scraping, rain tapping windows, someone complaining about the Wi-Fi, Ms. Cade writing, grade conferences plus practical feedback, on the board. Sloan sat 2 rows ahead, perfect low ponytail, pearl hair clip, blazer sleeve hiding her smartwatch. She did not turn around.
She did not need to.
She expected the old me to perform exactly on cue. I lifted my phone under the desk, started recording, and moved slowly enough for the camera to catch the laptop number sticker, the open gradebook tab, the timestamp in the corner, my hands visible and empty, the classroom around me, and Sloane in the front row checking her reflection in the blank projector screen. Then I raised my hand and said, loud enough for 3 rows to hear, "Miss Cade, I need a staff witness before I touch this laptop." The room did not fall silent all at once. Silence spreads through a classroom like spilled ink. First the people near you stop talking, then the ones who notice them noticing, then the teacher, who realizes the lesson plan has just stepped off a ledge. Ms. Cade turned from the board with the marker still uncapped in her hand. "Lucia, what do you mean?" In my first life, I had tried to explain after closing the tab, using words like mistake and weird and I swear, which are terrible words because they sound like panic even when they are true. This time, I kept both palms flat beside the laptop. This loaner laptop is open to the staff gradebook. It shows grade changes made before class. I have not closed, clicked, or logged into anything. I need you, or IT, to see it before anyone touches it. A chair scraped sharply at the front. Sloane half-turned, her eyes landing on the screen, then on my phone, then on my hands. For 1 second, the polish dropped from her face.
Not guilt exactly.
Calculation interrupted mid-breath. Then she blinked fast and made her voice soft. "Lucia, maybe don't say that out loud. That's private staff information." Smart. Make the evidence sound like a violation. Make me the danger for noticing it. Ms. Cade walked toward me quickly, her flats squeaking against the linoleum. "Everyone stay seated," she said, though no one had moved. She stood behind my chair, looked at the screen, and did not speak. Her silence told the class more than any announcement could have. The gradebook was real. My row was real. The change score was real. Then she reached toward the trackpad. I moved my hand slightly, not blocking her, just forcing the pause. "Please don't close anything. I'm recording that I haven't touched it." Her eyes flicked to my phone. In the old life, an adult might have snapped at me for recording. Today, maybe because the evidence was still glowing in front of her and because her own gradebook had been opened by someone who was not her, she lowered her hand. "Omar," she said carefully, "go to the office. Tell Mr. Ortega from IT to come here immediately and bring the device log kit. Do not explain details in the hallway." Omar stood so fast his chair nearly fell. He looked from me to the laptop, to Sloane's rigid back. "Yes, miss." As he left, Sloane raised her hand. "Should we all close our laptops for privacy?" There it was, the second blade. If everyone closed laptops, mine could be closed in the movement. Ms. Cade did not take her eyes off the screen. "No one touches any device." The laptop hummed between us like a live insect. 40 seconds passed. Then a minute. Classrooms are not built to hold suspense. They try to fill it with whispers, coughs, nervous laughter, shoes tapping under desks. I watched Sloane's right hand inch toward her blazer pocket. Her smartwatch. In the first life, after I closed the tab, she had sent a message to someone, maybe herself, maybe an accomplice, and the audit logs changed before IT arrived. This time, I said, "Miss Cade, Sloane is reaching for a device." It was a brutal sentence to say aloud, and every head snapped toward her. Sloane's cheeks flushed pink. I was checking the time. "Your phone and watch on the desk, please," Miss Cade said. "Everyone's, actually."
Now.
Groans erupted, but fear sharpened obedience. Phones and watches came out, sliding across desks. Sloane placed hers down with 2 fingers as if disgusted by the accusation. Her smartwatch face lit for a second before dimming. A notification preview flashed. Did she close it?
Zenda M.
Hart. Her brother? Her mother? I did not know, but I saw it. So did Mina Park beside her. Mina whispered, "What the hell?" Sloane flipped the watch face down too late. Ms. Cade's jaw tightened. "Hands visible, Sloane." Pattern interrupt. The queen of tidy explanations had been caught by a notification before she could write one. Mr. Ortega arrived 4 minutes later with a laptop bag, an evidence seal roll, and the exhausted dignity of a man who had spent too many years telling teenagers not to share passwords. He stepped into the classroom, took one look at Ms. Cade's face and said, "Nobody touched it?" "Lucia reported it open and has been recording," she said. "I have not touched it." "Good." He sounded so relieved I almost cried. In my first life, by the time IT arrived, the tab was closed, the session token refreshed, and my login was the last clean event. This time, Mr. Ortega photographed the screen before touching anything. He read aloud while filming with his own device. "Device Lab Cart 17, Staff Gradebook Open, Active Session 10, Admin 7, Grade Modifications Visible." Then he looked at me. "You are Lucia Reyes?" I swallowed. "Yes." "Step back from the desk, please, but leave your phone recording until I say stop." My legs shook when I stood. They shook because my body remembered being led away in disgrace. But this time, I stepped back from evidence, not into accusation. Mr. Ortega connected a small USB tool to the laptop, then stopped and looked at Ms. Cade. "I need administration in here before I export logs." Ms. Cade nodded and called the office from the classroom phone. The class had fully abandoned any pretense of biology. Even the posters of cell division on the walls seemed to be watching. Sloane sat perfectly still, chin lifted, the way she always sat during award assemblies when she expected her name to be called. She had been my rival since year 7, though rival was too honest a word for how the school saw us. Rival suggests two people on the same field. Sloane was the daughter of a surgeon and a school board donor, captain of the science extension team, face of the scholarship brochure despite never needing a scholarship in her life. I was the girl with excellent marks, a mother who cleaned dental rooms at night, and a habit of offering everyone spare pens. Teachers liked saying we pushed each other. They never noticed only one of us left bruised. In the first life, my grade drop gave Sloane rank 1 by 0.3%. That 0.3 got her the research internship I had wanted, the principal's science medal, and the glowing recommendation that later opened every door mine could not. "This is ridiculous," Sloane said suddenly, voice shaking in the exact register adults hear as wounded rather than cornered. "Why would anyone hack grades from a broken laptop in the same room we're about to use? It's probably a system glitch." Mr. Ortega did not look up. Glitches do not usually search how to clear browser sessions. A ripple moved through the room. Sloane's mouth closed. Ms. Cade looked at the second tab for the first time and inhaled sharply. I had not meant to enjoy that, but I did. Not because a woman I respected was horrified, but because the lie was becoming too ugly for politeness. Principal Rowe arrived with Deputy Harrow and the school counselor, which was how you knew the administration did not yet understand whether they were handling cheating, hacking, privacy, or a parent lawsuit. Principal Rowe started with the wrong instinct. "Can we move this to my office?" Mr. Ortega said, "Not before I preserve the live session." Bless every underpaid technician who chooses truth over optics. The log export took 11 minutes. 11 minutes is an entire lifetime when 30 teenagers are watching a girl's future flicker on a cracked screen. Mr. Ortega narrated each step, partly for procedure and partly, I think, because he knew silence would let the story mutate. Capturing active browser state, capturing session cookies, capturing local history, pulling device login events, pulling gradebook audit trail. Sloane's foot tapped once beneath her desk, then stopped when Mina looked down. A projector cable lay coiled near the whiteboard. In the first life, Ms. Cade had projected the class grade list after I unknowingly logged in, and my changed grade became public before I could frame the problem. This time, the list stayed unprojected. The evidence stayed smaller, controlled, less hungry. Mr. Ortega's screen populated with lines of timestamps. He read quietly at first, then louder after Ms. Cade asked him to repeat. 7:41 a.m., device lab cart 17 opened from sleep. 7:42, guest session. 7:45, staff gradebook login using temporary admin credential. 7:52 to 7:56, multiple grade modifications. 7:57, browser search, clear session school Chromebook. 8:03, device closed but not logged out. 8:53, device opened by student reporter. No login event. Student reporter. That was me. In my first life, the log had said student login. Lucia Reyes at 8:54, then gradebook access in history. This time, it said opened by student reporter, no login event. A sentence can be a life raft. Principal Rowe asked, "Can we identify who used the guest session before class?" Mr. Ortega clicked into network logs. "We may have badge access for the lab cart cabinet." Ms. Cade's head snapped toward the back wall. The laptop cart had an electronic lock. Students were not supposed to open it before teachers arrived. "Only staff and student tech monitors have access," she said. Deputy Harrow opened a tablet, checked the access record, and went pale. Card opened at 7:38 with student tech badge. "Name?" Principal Rowe asked. Deputy Harrow looked at Sloan. Not dramatically. Just enough. Sloan Hart. The whole class inhaled, so sharply it sounded like rain hitting glass. Sloan laughed. It was a terrible laugh, high and offended. "I'm a tech monitor. I open the cart every Thursday. Everyone knows that." She looked around, searching for loyalty. "Ms. Cade asked me to help with the grade conference setup." Ms. Cade's face hardened. "I did not ask you to open the cart before I arrived. You said yesterday to make sure laptops were charged. That is not permission to access the gradebook." Sloane's eyes shone now, but with anger more than fear. "I didn't." Deputy Harrow cleared his throat. "The badge record only shows the card access, not gradebook use." There it was, the adult hesitation. The little gap where a rich girl's denial might squeeze through. Then Mina raised her hand. Quiet Mina, who had spent most of the year letting Sloan borrow her chargers and correct her pronunciation of Latin terms. "Sloan was in here before school," she said. Sloan turned slowly.
Mina.
One word, full of warning.
Mina Svaloved.
"I came in early to print my prac reflection, and she was at the cart. She told me Ms. Cade needed the laptops checked. I saw her using number 17. Sloane's eyes narrowed. "You saw me check charge levels. You had the laptop open on the teacher desk, because the cart was blocking my way. And you told me to go print in the library." Mina's voice strengthened with each sentence, as if truth was a muscle warming under strain. Principal Rowe turned to Mr. Ortega. "Can the gradebook credential be traced?" "Temporary admin credentials are issued for maintenance tasks. This one should not have been active." "Who created it?" Mr. Ortega's expression changed. "That's another problem." He opened a different log. The temp admin 7 credential had been created the previous afternoon from the account of Ms. Layton, the assessment coordinator, while she was supervising exam makeup in the hall. "Could someone have used her unlocked computer?" he asked Ms. Cade. Ms. Cade closed her eyes. The assessment office was open during science club setup. Sloan was science club president. The room did not need anyone to say it yet. It was starting to learn the shape. Then Sloan did what Sloan had always done when a wall cracked. She pointed through it at someone poorer. "Lucia is the one with motive," she said, voice trembling into theatrical hurt. "She's been obsessed with rank all year. She told people if she didn't get first, she'd lose the internship. Maybe she opened the laptop earlier, made the changes, then pretended to find it. In my first life, that accusation had worked because I did have motive. I did need rank 1. I did talk about the internship too much because when you have one bridge out, you count its planks obsessively. This time, I did not deny the harmless truth. I wanted rank 1, I said."
Sloan blinked.
She expected protest. "I wanted the internship and my original lab score helped me. That does not explain why my score went down and yours went up from the same device you opened before school." A few students murmured. Sloane's tears trembled beautifully. "You could have changed mine too to frame me." I looked at Mr. Ortega. "Can the system show whether I logged in before class?" He answered without hesitation. "No Lucia Reyes login on any school device before 8:53. Your student card entered campus at 8:31 through the front gate." My chest tightened. In the old life, nobody checked my entry time until it was too late, and even then they said I could have used another entrance. This time, Deputy Harrow pulled the gate record while everyone watched. 8:31 front gate camera thumbnail. Me under an umbrella, hair damp, carrying a lunch bag, and the same tote now sitting by my desk. The grade changes happened at 7:52. Unless I had learned time travel before rebirth, I was clean. Sloane saw it too. Her face went still. Not beaten. Recalculating. Her smartwatch buzzed on Ms. Cade's desk, face up this time because Sloane had been told not to touch it. Another message preview lit the screen. If it points to you, say Lucia threatened you. Do not admit access. The class saw enough. Ms. Cade reached the watch before Sloane did. Principal Rowe, she said, voice like ice, I think Sloane needs to be separated from the class. They moved us all eventually, but not before the story had grown legs and sprinted through the school faster than any bell. Advanced biology was sent to the library under supervision. Sloane was escorted to the conference office. Her phone and watch were sealed. The broken laptop was carried by Mr. Ortega like a bomb that had decided to become paperwork. I sat at a library table with my hands folded, feeling strangely empty. In fantasies, exposure feels like a lightning strike. In reality, it feels like your body keeps bracing for the hit after the person swinging has already been grabbed. Omar sat across from me, whispering, "Did she really change your grade?" Mina sat beside him, pale but upright. "She changed mine too," she said. The late comment. I knew I submitted on time. Slowly, other students began checking their portals on their phones. A mark shifted here. A comment altered there. Not enough to ruin everyone, just enough to tilt rank calculations, awards, teacher perception. Sloane had not hacked the whole class wildly. She had curated reality. That was worse. A massive change screams fraud. Small changes whispered doubt into the right places. My phone buzzed. "Mum, office called. Are you okay?" I stared at the message until the letters blurred. In my first life, the office had called her after I was accused. She arrived already frightened by their tone. This time, what had they said? Device irregularity? Grade issue? Student witness? I typed, "I found evidence someone changed grades. I did not touch it. Please come if you can." She replied, "Leaving work now." Then, "Do not sign anything without me." I almost laughed and cried at once. The first timeline had made both of us faster. Or maybe this timeline gave my mother enough warning to become the woman she always could have been before shame crowded the room. Principal Rowe called me into the office 20 minutes later. Mum arrived 2 minutes after that, still in her dental clinic scrubs, rain in her hair, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. She did not ask whether I had done anything. She looked at the sealed laptop, the adults, then me. Who changed my daughter's grade? Another pattern interrupt. The question began where my innocence was already standing. The administrative meeting lasted 3 hours and felt like watching a machine disassemble itself on a table. Mr. Ortega projected logs in the conference room, with the blinds closed. Ms. Cade sat beside my mother, not across from her, which mattered more than anyone said. Sloane sat at the far end with her parents, Dr. Hart and Mrs. Hart, both dressed like people who knew how to turn accusation into inconvenience. Mrs. Hart began with Sloane as a child, then moved to Lucia may have misunderstood what she saw, then grade systems glitch constantly, then, after the gate records and badge logs appeared, access does not prove action. Dr. Hart said less, but every sentence arrived polished. We need to avoid reputational harm. Students under academic pressure do strange things. My daughter has no history of dishonesty. My mother listened without blinking. When Dr. Hart suggested stress might have made me interpret normal administrative activity as malicious, she leaned forward and said, "Normal administrative activity lowered my daughter's score by 30 points and raised yours by 15 before school opened?" Dr. Hart looked at her as if he had forgotten parents outside his tax bracket could do arithmetic. "I'm not saying that." "Then say what you were saying," Mum replied. Beautiful. Brutal. Sloane's eyes were red now, but she was not crying. She looked furious that the room was taking so long to become confused. Mr. Ortega continued. The temporary admin credential had been created from Ms. Layton's unlocked office computer at 4:18 p.m. yesterday. Hall camera footage showed Sloane entering the assessment office at 4:16 carrying science club posters. She exited at 4:21. Her student tech badge opened the laptop cart at 7:38 that morning. Lab cart 17 connected to the gradebook at 7:45. The grade modifications matched the audit table still open when I found it. At 7:58, the laptop searched for clearing instructions but was closed without logout, likely because another student entered the room. Mina confirmed she entered at 7:59. The evidence did not shout.
It's stacked.
Stacked evidence is terrifying because each piece may be small, but together it becomes a staircase with nowhere else to go. Principal Rowe finally asked Sloane, "Did you access the gradebook?" Sloane looked at her mother. Her mother's jaw tightened. Sloane whispered, "Lucia told me to." The room went silent, not because the accusation was strong, but because it was late. Late lies have a smell. When? Principal Rowe asked. Sloane swallowed. Yesterday. She said she needed help fixing a mistake because Ms. Cade wouldn't listen. She gave me the temp password. I almost admired the shape of it. Turn my need into manipulation, her access into reluctant help. My mother's hand found mine under the table. Ms. Cade said, "Lucia never raised a grade dispute with me yesterday." Sloane snapped. "Not officially. She corners people. She makes you feel bad for her." There it was, the old class resentment dressed as testimony. Poor girl as emotional extortionist. Scholarship student as guilt weapon. Principal Rowe turned to me. In my first life, that turn had crushed me. This time, I opened my bag slowly, took out my planner, and slid it across the table. Yesterday after school, I was in the library tutoring Year 8 maths from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. The sign-in sheet is online. There are cameras. I did not enter the assessment office or speak to Sloane alone. Deputy Harrow checked. The library tutoring sign-in appeared within a minute. Camera stills followed. There I was at 4:18, sitting beside a Year 8 boy, explaining fractions with colored pens while Sloane allegedly received a password from me in another building. Sloane's face hardened. "You could have given it earlier. Then why did you wait until 4:18 to create the credential from Ms. Layton's computer?" Mr. Ortega asked. He did not sound angry. He sounded tired. That somehow made it worse for her. Mrs. Hart said, "My daughter will not answer further questions without representation." Principal Rowe nodded, but the room had already answered enough. The investigation would continue formally, but the urgent question, did Lucia hack grades, had died on the table. I felt no triumph yet, only the old timeline loosening its hand from my throat. By the end of the week, the full damage was mapped. Sloane had changed 11 grade entries across 4 students and herself, all strategically tied to class rank, science medal eligibility, and the district research internship shortlist. She had altered 2 comments to make late submissions appear habitual. She had created the temporary admin credential after watching Ms. Layton type her password during assessment setup. She had chosen Lab Cart 17 because the trackpad fault made students avoid it except, apparently, me. In her messages, recovered from the watch backup after her parents stopped pretending the device was sacred, she had written to her mother, "Lucia always takes the broken one. She'll close the tab because she's scared of breaking rules. Then we say she was inside gradebook." Mrs. Hart's reply, "Do not write intent in messages." Too late. That line became the nail in the coffin and the comedy relief, depending on which student group chat was discussing it. Sloane was suspended pending a disciplinary hearing, removed from science club leadership, and barred from the internship shortlist. Her parents threatened litigation, then went quiet after the school board learned a parent had been advising concealment in writing. Ms. Layton received a reprimand for leaving her computer unlocked, though privately everyone knew adults had been careless because students like Sloane trained them to see polish as permission. My original grade was restored. So were Omar's, Mina's, and the others. Ms. Cade apologized to the class for the breach, and to me in private for the first timeline. She did not know she had failed. "I should have had better controls," she said. "And I should have noticed grade changes before conference day." I wanted to say yes, you should have, but her eyes were wet, and my anger was tired. "Notice the next one earlier," I said. She nodded. "I will." Adults love promising the future. This time, because the logs existed and the policy changed, I almost believed her. The disciplinary hearing was held in the boardroom on Monday morning, where glass walls looked out over the courtyard like transparency was an architectural feature rather than a moral challenge. I attended with Mum, Ms. Cade, Mr. Ortega, Principal Rowe, Sloan, her parents, and a district digital conduct officer who asked questions with the gentle persistence of a dentist finding decay. Sloan wore a cream sweater instead of uniform, probably to look less like a prefect and more like someone's daughter. For the first 10 minutes, she said nothing. Her parents spoke about pressure, perfectionism, system vulnerabilities, teenage mistakes, disproportionate harm. The officer let them. Then he asked Sloan whether she understood that changing grade records affected other students' academic opportunities. She looked at the table. I wasn't trying to hurt them. Mina's late comment. Omar's absent mark. My 64. Not trying to hurt is a strange phrase from people who aimed carefully. The officer asked why she targeted my score most dramatically. Sloane's eyes flicked to me and away. Because everyone already thought Lucia was intense about grades. If she complained, it would look like her. There it was. The real confession, not moral but tactical. She had not chosen me because I was easy to beat. She chose me because people had a ready-made story about girls like me. Ambitious, anxious, too grateful, too hungry. My mother inhaled slowly through her nose. I placed a hand over hers under the table this time, reversing the old rescue. The officer asked if her mother knew. Mrs. Hart said, I was unaware of any actual action. Mr. Ortega opened the message log. Did she close it? If it points to you, say Lucia threatened you. Do not write intent in messages. The officer looked at Mrs. Hart for a long moment. Your awareness will be addressed separately. For the first time all morning, Mrs. Hart looked less expensive than afraid. Consequences arrived in formal language. Sloan would be removed from all academic leadership positions, receive a long suspension, have the conduct breach reported to internship and award committees, complete digital ethics remediation, and remain on academic probation. The school would audit all grade changes from the semester. Parent involvement would be referred to the board. My record would contain a written statement clearing me and identifying me as the reporting student who preserved evidence. I asked for one change. Not reporting student, I said. Witness. They granted it. Returning to class afterward felt stranger than the hearing. People expected either a victory lap or a breakdown, and I gave them neither because my body had no energy left for theater. I sat at the same desk in room 204. The laptop cart had new locks. Number 17 was gone, taken by IT for forensic storage or, as Omar said, retired after snitching successfully. Someone had taped a sticky note to my desk that said Broken Laptop Queen. I stared at it, then laughed. Not because it was kind. Because it was ridiculous enough to defang itself. Mina sat beside me. I should have said something sooner, she whispered. About seeing Sloan before school. I opened my notebook. You said it when it mattered. I was scared. Me too. That was all. Friendship sometimes begins not with warmth, but with two people admitting the same room frightened them. Ms. Cade started the lesson with enzyme inhibition, which felt insane and comforting at once. Life really does move from academic fraud to competitive inhibitors without asking whether your nervous system has caught up. Halfway through class, Principal Rowe knocked and asked me to step outside. My stomach dropped, old fear sprinting ahead of facts. But in the hallway, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter confirming my restored grade, my rank recalculation, and my eligibility for the district research internship. The application deadline was extended for affected students, she said. You should apply. In my first life, that internship had become the symbol of everything stolen. In this life, holding the extension letter, I realized I did not want it because Sloan lost it. I wanted it because the work was mine. Thank you, I said. Principal Rowe hesitated. Lucia, I'm sorry the system put you in a position where you had to protect yourself so carefully. It was a better apology than I expected. I folded the letter once. Make the system careful enough that the next student doesn't have to be. She nodded. That sentence later appeared, slightly sanitized, in the new digital integrity policy. I recognized it anyway. The internship interview happened 3 weeks later in a university lab that smelled like ethanol, coffee, and possibility. I expected to feel haunted, but instead I felt oddly calm. The panel asked about resilience, academic integrity, and how I handled unexpected data. I almost laughed at the last one. Unexpected data should not be deleted because it makes the room uncomfortable, I said. It should be preserved, checked, and interpreted before anyone builds a conclusion around convenience. The lead researcher smiled. Spoken like someone who has handled messy results. Yes, I said. I did not give them the whole story. Not because I was ashamed. Because not every wound needs to be placed on a table to prove it healed properly. I got the internship. Mina got a lab assistant placement after her corrected project comments moved her into the shortlist. Omar started a joke campaign to make Lab Cart 17 the school mascot. Sloan transferred at the end of term to an online accelerated program, which rich families use the way other people use bandages, to cover damage without showing the cut. Rumors said she blamed burnout. Rumors said her mother blamed the school. Rumors said she was studying cybersecurity now, which made everyone laugh nervously. I did not follow her. That surprised me. In the first life, Sloan had lived rent-free in my skull for years. Every achievement of hers a theft repeated. In this one, after the hearing, she shrank. Not harmless, not forgiven, just smaller than the system she had exploited and the proof that stopped her. The broken laptop became legend for a while, then faded into school mythology, replaced by a canteen fight, a stolen mascot head, and someone's disastrous chemistry project involving blue dye. That is how schools work. They metabolize scandal quickly. The people scarred by it do not. I still checked tabs before logging in. I still photographed important screens. I still felt my pulse spike when a teacher said grade conference. But each time, the fear had somewhere to go. Into procedure. Into records. Into choices that kept my hands clean. Years later, I became a data integrity officer for a medical research institute, which sounds boring until you understand that boring is where lives are protected before headlines happen. I reviewed audit trails, access logs, unexplained changes, suspicious timestamps. I taught young researchers that no result should be quietly fixed because it looks inconvenient, and no system should depend on everyone being too polite to check. On the wall beside my desk, I kept a small framed sticker peeled from an old school laptop. Trackpad faulty. Use mouse. People thought it was an inside joke. It was, but with a ghost. One afternoon, an intern came to me pale and shaking because she had opened a shared analysis file and found patient categories altered from the night before. I closed it, she said, then burst into tears. My heart hurt for her because I knew the terror of thinking one click had ruined everything. Did you save after closing? I asked gently. She shook her head. Did you take screenshots? One. Good. Then we start there. We pulled backups, logs, version history. The error was traced to a rushed senior researcher trying to meet a grant deadline. The intern was cleared before rumor learned her name. Afterward, she asked why I believed her so quickly. I thought of room 204, the humming laptop, Sloane's message asking whether I had closed it, the life where I had, and the life where I had not. Because systems should verify before people accuse, I said. And because scared people can still be telling the truth. She nodded like I had handed her something heavier than advice. I visited my old school once for a STEM mentoring day. Room 204 had new desks, new screens, and no laptop cart. Everything was cloud managed now, though Mr. Ortega, still there and grayer, told me with a sigh that cloud systems simply found more fashionable ways to break. We stood near the back of the room while Year 10 set up for a coding workshop. You know, he said, after that incident, we changed audit alerts across the whole district. Good. You caused a lot of paperwork. Also good. He laughed. Then he pointed to a poster near the whiteboard. Before you log in, check the screen. Report open sessions. Do not close evidence. My own words were not on it, but my second life was. A girl at the front groaned. Why do we have to do the boring security speech again? Mr. Ortega called back, because boring security speeches are why exciting disciplinary hearings happen to other people. I smiled. The girl rolled her eyes, but she listened. Good enough. As I left, I passed the storage room where the laptop cart used to sit. For a moment, I saw number 17 on the bottom shelf, cracked hinge waiting, trap glowing quietly behind a screen. I thought of the old version of me reaching to close the tab because privacy, politeness, and fear had braided themselves into a rope around her wrist. I no longer hated her for it. She had been trying to do the right thing with rules written by people who never imagined goodness could be used against her. I wanted to tell her that the right thing was not always closing what you were not supposed to see. Sometimes the right thing was leaving the ugly tab open until the right people arrived to witness it. Outside, rain started against the pavement, soft and steady. My phone buzzed with a message from Mum. Did mentoring go well? Also, don't forget dinner. I replied, went well. Checked every screen. She sent back a laughing emoji, then a heart. I stood under the awning and let the rain smell like a beginning instead of an ending. In this life, I picked the broken laptop. In this life, I never closed the tab. In this life, the screen that was meant to accuse me stayed open long enough to tell the truth.